ODM will either form the next government or be part of the next government. Ile kitu siwezi kukubali. Ile kitu kwa heshima ya huyu shujaa wetu, ile kitu siwezi kukubali, na nitafanya juu chini, Mungu anisaidie. Ni wale ambao wanataka kung'oa chama ya ODM na kwenda kuchezea karata ya upinzani kule nje. Hiyo haitawezekana.
The president says something, we have to take it with a lot of seriousness. President William Ruto said openly that he will not allow. That means sasa vita zinaenda kupiganwa pale.
Thirdly and lastly, indeed, is to affirm that Baba has left us as a people in government. Baba Raila Odinga has left us in government led by President William Ruto. And that is where we are going to stay. Yes. Till the end. Yes. Yes. Till the end. Yes. And I can dare say, without any fear of contradiction, that we are going to walk step by step with President William Ruto to the end. Now and beyond 2027. That I must say from here.
Those who want to continue with Raila's legacy and those who want to benefit from Raila's death. Vita inaenda kuchipuka pale mbaya sana. So ODM sasa iko pale again on the crossroad. ODM sasa iko pale Roysambu. Wajui waende Mwiki, waende Tao, waende TRM, ana waende Committee Road. They are there again on the crossroad.
Does the president have something to worry about?
Well, certainly. And I think in his speech in Bondo, the president acknowledged that. He acknowledged that the absence of Raila certainly puts him in a difficult position. I mean, that is the naked truth. Because it is true, as you say, that where the country was headed, had Raila not joined hands with William Ruto, we could have been in a different position. And that explains one of Raila's most outstanding qualities, the love of the nation of Kenya as a nation. Throughout the years, you will realize that no matter what it was, if it came to a stage where the nation of Kenya as a nation was threatened, Raila would back down, even against opposition. In 2007, a lot of the people around Raila, including President Ruto right now, did not want Raila to back down, to join in the unity government. A lot of people were against it, but he insisted and said, we cannot take Kenya to the dogs. And that is the position he has maintained in every other subsequent election. And that is the position he maintained during the Gen Z's revolution. It was not for him, it was not for ODM, but it was for Kenya as a country. So the fact, the nervousness is real, and the president himself has conceded that. But I think that, you know, there are moments when things can happen, and if that moment passes, usually you do not, it's not easy to reenact it. I think that while some of the concerns by the Gen Zs have been addressed, many have still not been addressed, but that moment passed. That is not to say that we can, you know, wish away what the Gen Zs were raising. They must still be addressed. But I think that moment, it was actually a revolutionary moment. I think it passed, I think it toned down, and we have got to a situation where, and it's very sad, that in Raila passing, I've been seeing a lot of in the social media, even the Gen Zs themselves are in disagreement. There are some Gen Zs who unfortunately have been celebrating the death of Raila. and there are Gen Zs who are mourning, and so they've ended up in this fierce exchange, almost violent exchange on social media. The point is, the unity of the Gen Zs at that point and the purpose for which they were, united was real. It was hijacked by other people who wanted to use it for a different reason, and we can discuss that at a later date. But that moment passed. The president is nervous and has to be nervous, but I do not think that the death of Raila Odinga by itself can, recreate that moment. So I believe that President Ruto will and should get service term up to 2027. Beyond, we can discuss. But I also believe that we must all strive to address all those issues that were of concern to the Gen Zs.
Do you think that Kenyans today, as you sit and remember the person Raila Odinga was in terms of his democracy and fight for freedoms that we have today, that Kenyans, where they are, and even when Kenyans get out to go to the streets, that they embody the legacy that the man has left, that Kenyans today would say the foundation blocks that were built by this man Raila Odinga are what you're building on to make Kenya a better place. Are you able to say, or are you able to comment in terms of Kenyans know their rights, Kenyans will get out to fight their rights, and that as a leadership we see a people who know what they want, and we don't have an option but to play right by them?
Both yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the surviving legacy and the greatest legacy that Raila ever gave this country is an enlarged democratic space. And anyone who knows anything about this country and about Raila will acknowledge that the democratic space we enjoy right now is courtesy of not only but topmost Raila Amollo Odinga. And that is why Kenyans will go to the streets, and in this country there's not a single day that there's not a demonstration somewhere. A lot of times you watch news and it's one demonstration to other, so the first 5 clips are about demos in different places. That democratic space that Kenyans enjoy is courtesy topmost of Raila Amollo Odinga, and so Kenyans can rest assured and continue enjoying that. But at the same time, no. Because one of the things Raila fought the most was tribalism. Unfortunately, in this country today, tribalism continues to rear its ugly head, even in unfortunate situations like the death of Raila. I must call out, for example, you saw the video of the governor of Nyeri, Governor Kahiga, celebrating the death of Raila and saying that was God's work, that God had to eliminate the Luo leader because the Ruto's government was now taking resources that belong to the Kikuyus, to the Luo. It is quite unfortunate. In any proper democracy, not only must he resign as the vice chair of the Council of Governors, he actually needs to resign as a governor. If as a governor you can think and celebrate death of somebody based on tribalism, it tells you how deep it is. And what's worse is that as he was saying that, the crowd that was there was cheering. It tells you how deep in tribalism we still are. It is unfortunate that although many have mourned Raila, and if you look at those who went to receive his body at the airport, to those who are in Kasarani, to those who are in Nyayo, to those who are in Kisumu and Bondo, a lot of my colleagues from Mount Kenya skipped all those events. Most of them.
Why?
It is my opinion that it is still a result of tribalism because of the perception of, the some of the utterances by the former deputy president and utterances by people like Governor Kahiga that is trying to create and balkanize, the Kikuyu as a tribe. And that if you are seen either sympathizing too much with the death of Raila or at his funeral and all, your electorate will mark you out. And I believe it is that fear that kept a lot of them away. It is all about tribalism. So unfortunately, while we all agree that the democratic space has improved courtesy of Raila and we all enjoy it, tribalism has not improved. And although Raila tried to fight it both in deed and action. Unfortunately, it is embedded and it is becoming deeper and deeper.
Obviously, it's going to be interesting because we do know that the Council of Governors has actually called a meeting for this morning at 9 o'clock, probably to address this very thing, to look into that. But speaking about things that are said and things that are done, Parliament would appear passed a number of bills that were being signed into law at around the same time that Raila Odinga's death and the news of it was made known to Kenyans. We didn't hear anything from State House until later on in the day. What we did hear before was that these bills had been assented to and signed into law by the president. This was 4 hours after Raila died. And they're already being called controversial bills. They've now been signed into law. And it looks as though they are betraying the very freedoms that Raila spent his life defending. Amongst them is the new Cyber Crimes Act. And it tightens the safeguards against online fraud and harassment and hides in clauses that would muzzle free speech and silent dissent. We can take those 4 words and use them to describe Raila Odinga, whether you woke up in the middle of the night or you did in the first dawn. Those are some of the things that he did fight for. But interestingly, on the day, and maybe in this case coincidence doesn't even play, but on the day he died, these bills were signed into law. Call them controversial, call them whatever you want, but in order for them to have been signed into law, Otiende, they were discussed in Parliament 1, 2, 3 times they were read, they were assented to, they are now law. What are your thoughts around this?
Let me explain first the circumstances of the assent, then I come to Parliament.
Okay.
I have seen, I think a lot of people have faulted the president for signing into law these laws on the very day that Raila died, and they have speculated that he actually learned of Raila's death, then purposed to sign them. That because if he had not signed them until then, because he had feared Raila might not be very happy. I think it's a case of a sad coincidence, because I'm aware that the leadership of Parliament had been invited to State House the previous day to be there, I think, as early as 6. And the agenda was actually signing these laws into these matters into law. I cannot speak authoritatively as to whether they were signed before he learned or after he learned, but I can tell you for a fact, because I confirmed with some of my colleagues, in the leadership, the whip, that they had been invited the previous day. So I think the purpose to sign them was always there. But I think it was a sad coincidence that they were signed the very morning that we all learned of Raila's death. About Parliament, I can tell you that while the broad-based government is a good thing for this country, I think one of the unintended effects it has had on Parliament is to reduce the level of scrutiny and opposition to bills that may not be good.
Does it mean members of Parliament are failing Kenyans?
Yes, I think we are. What it has done, some of us who question this are then said to be opposed to the broad-based government. I have, for example, because I have usually questioned some of these matters during debate, and then they have then concluded, some people have concluded that I'm one of those who are opposed to the broad-based government. But that is not so. I support the broad-based government, but that 10-point framework agreement does not say anywhere that we must support legislation and proposals even if they are not correct. And therefore, I have continued to speak out against what I think are proposals that are improper at whatever cost. For example, when before the last session, there was proposal to privatize Kenya Pipeline Company, remember?
Yes.
I spoke very strongly against it, and a lot of our colleagues were in opposition so that they withdrew the bill. And then, you know the way Parliament works. And then this session, what they then did is on a particular day when we had seen the order paper and nothing like privatization of KPC was on it. And so no one was prepared. And then at about 2:30, they circulate another order paper that now has it only to those basically who are in the house. So some of us now learned, and by the time we got there, it had been endorsed within less than 30 minutes or something like that. And I'm on record as questioning the speaker that is a misuse of amendment of the order paper. The order paper is supposed to notify not just members of parliament but everyone at large that there will be this business at this time.
Right.
So I called it legislation by ambush. And so some of us have continued to call this. When the cybercrimes law was being debated, we opposed it. But what happens in parliament ultimately? There's something called mood of parliament. That mood is the most difficult thing you can deal with, because you can go there, you have your minute, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5. You will wax lyrical about why the legislation is bad, what it will do and all that, and the speaker and the rest of your colleagues will just be looking at you, and then the speaker will put the question. Once that question is carried, that's it. Whether you oppose or not, collectively they will say Parliament passed it. So even those of us who opposed it, you are lost in that sea. And so there's nothing you can do. You can roll on the ground, you can jump, you can go to a witch doctor, but it will not change the decision. So I think that it is true, and I'm on record. I think Parliament needs to be more independent than it is, because collectively we are supposed to check the executive.
So deeper than that.
Yes.
So karibu sana. Tell a friend to subscribe to Boniface Mugure, beyond the headlines, beyond everything. Hao wengine wanafuata nyuma, sisi tukiendelea wataongoja sana. Karibu sana.
And humorous. It's deep, hard-hitting, insights straight from the corridors of political power. Factual and humorous. It's one-on-one.